2024, August 14th, 15th. And this is Trainers Talking Trainers Talking Training. So what brings you guys here tonight? What would you like to talk about?
I
Well,
am game for anything. Go ahead, Jill. Sorry.
I was working with Shaggy today,
Okay.
and he he has reverted back again to not wanting to open his mouth. So when I'm getting ready for dinner, I thought, well, I'm going to flow with this. So I said, oh, look, here's a piece of food floating around. And we flowed with that. And he did open his mouth because he wanted to eat it. And then I bridged him there. But of course, that was using food. But I thought, well, sometimes maybe you have to go with
sometimes
that.
you need to. And also sometimes they just need a vacation.
It's possible. I've been working him pretty hard.
Yeah. So sometimes they just need a vacation. Remember, I talk about sometimes it's like a pigeon. You have to circle around until you find a new place to land.
Yeah.
So training can be like that.
Jill, just fill us in on who Shaggy is that you're trying to open him out. A dog, a horse,
He is a dog.
Okay.
And he's part Shih Tzu, part Jack Russell.
Very cute. He looks like a colobus monkey.
Oh, and why are you wanting him to open his mouth? For dental or what?
Our assignment.
Funny you would ask.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a class assignment. So, Laura, I don't know if you know anything about me, but my background is exotic animals. And I was listening to a state of the art in cognitive training. No, just plain old state of the art in training for zoo people. And this expert said that the hardest thing to train is open mouth. And we do it all the time.
Yeah, I'll add to that as far as open mouth, because I've been, I want Anipay to take a bit because he has nose in a halter, stuff like that. But for bit, he has to open his teeth. So what he does is he does this, like, pulls his lips back, but the teeth are still closed. And I try to explain, he's trying so hard. He has this big smile, but the teeth are closed. And so I'm trying to, this kind of the same thing,
For what I know about Anipay, I'll bet you he's pulling your leg. But anyway, just come in with your finger in the side where they've got that passage.
No.
Say, this is closed. I'm going to put my finger in. So the finger will be shibble, where the mouth is closed, but he's letting you put your finger in and out. So you can bridge that. And then you can do muzzle chin to get the open and close. And that works like a charm for me. The other thing you can do is put just a touch. I'm not talking about pressure. I'm talking about them going, what the heck is your finger in my mouth for?
Yeah, I have to be careful he doesn't accidentally bite my finger. I have tried putting it there. Because, and I've tried massaging the gums and
maybe try a silicone spatula.
Oh,
okay. Because it tends to slip in and out very easy. It's got, it's very thin and it won't hurt you if it bites, but if he bites down on it, it's not likely to hurt him.
Yeah. Okay.
If he swallows the whole thing, I don't want to hear about it.
No. Yeah.
So Laura, we've all had classes together.
Okay.
So we don't mean to leave you out of the mix. And we're expecting more people to come. I guess I should check and see. We've got 21 people registered, or 25, I guess. But sometimes they have trouble getting in here, and I never know. Because I'm in the meeting, right? And I can't see what they're doing.
While you check that, can I ask Laura to introduce herself?
Yes, that's a great idea.
Okay.
Hi,
Hey, Laura.
Laura, I'm from Telford, Pennsylvania. I have a training business for the past over 10 years now. I work with a lot of behavior modification type stuff. I work with a lot of breeder dogs, dogs that are shut down.
Mm.
Um, I have worked a lot with Nelson Hodges,
Okay.
if you know who he is, with his institute with behavior modification,
Yeah,
relationship.
Nelson got certified in perception modification before he opened that.
Oh,
Oh, okay. I
interesting.
have watched your stuff. I do have your CDs from when you were at the University of Pennsylvania.
Oh,
So
wow.
I am
I
familiar
can't
with
get
some of your
those anymore.
stuff. What's that? You can't get those anymore?
No.
I have them.
So
I
are you
have.
offering to sell them back to me? Is that the deal?
Would you like them?
If you can use them, I don't want to take them from you. I'd much rather you use them and
Yes.
solve problems with them. Have you solved problems with them?
Is that what you are you asking me that? Or
Yeah,
I
I'm
didn't hear
asking you. Have you found it useful?
I have. Yes, name and explain.
Crazy, right?
Yes, absolutely. And it does help and it does work for sure.
Yeah. It is so well, I do exit interviews with all the trainers that come to classes or get certified. And I ask them, what was the most valuable thing for you? And they all go name and explain. That's not even a technique. It just takes mindfulness.
Right.
But
Yes.
people have been so uh, uh, almost bullied into you're not professional if you talk to your dog. And yet, I know so many professionals that talk to dogs all the time.
That's
So
really funny.
I'm looking to see if anybody has messaged for any problems, and I'm not seeing anything. And it is summertime, so people have a tendency to come in later. So I'm going to come back to you guys because I don't have any other choices.
Well, I'm going to offer a little bit of a different opinion than what you just said, because I feel name and explain is a definite technique that
Oh, okay. So elaborate.
because it's all about, well, you're big about observation and discernment, those two words, but it's the communication, the back and forth. And it's, to me, breaking things down into the steps where the animal is being successful and not being punished. So in the horse world, punishment is kind of like a big thing of control. But if and has its places, by the way, I don't allow NFA to bite me or tug me around. But if I'm trying to if I see that cooperation and we're trying to get a job done, and I see he's trying, then I will often use, it's like, okay, I need to break it down, just like you said, with the bit. It's like, I've seen people try to bit their horse and the horse's head is way up high and, and they're forcing it in. And I know that's not him. He's trying. He lowers his head, he smiles, but I need to explain. I need to break it down more to explain about the teeth and where it goes, but without making him feel like that we're fighting over something.
Right. Right.
And,
Boy,
and
that's a subject that's really come up a lot lately, where you have to get out of conflict mode and just stay out of it. So, Laura, one of the things we do is we generally don't tell an animal no. We generally will name what we see and then re-ask for the thing that we want. So let's say we say, will you turn left, please? And the animal turns right. And we'll say, that's a great right turn. Can you turn left?
Okay.
And I'll talk about animals asking questions. A lot of times they'll come in and Kathy, that's another way to look at this, where he's kind of asking, is this open? My lips are open.
Uh-huh. I know, because he's lowering his head. He's trying, and the bit goes here where he's parted his
Yeah,
lips.
yeah. So he's giving you all the different things, and it's like, what do you call this last thing? So maybe teeth open.
Well, yeah, and that's where on explaining, I often will show him, because sometimes I can't think of anything else to do except show him my teeth.
I do that all the time. Yeah.
Closed, open, you know.
Oh, I just go, I'll bite you if you don't do that. No, I don't do that.
No, but you know, and the other thing, Laura, I will say that in this kind of training, there's so much humor that gets generated between me and Inepe. He's funny as can be. He's just, I've allowed his personality to develop where he can try things, and in his own impish way, he's not going to get in trouble. He's not dangerous, but he's hilarious. He's just, it's like,
It's very, very funny.
yeah, and so I think my point is it allows the animal to develop a personality, whereas in other, well, they all have personalities, but to feel free to participate without that fear of getting in trouble.
Yeah.
As long as something isn't dangerous and all, but it's
Mhm.
sometimes I think for example, in the horse world, it's like, well, I need to go for a ride. And so we need this on now because, you know, come
Yeah.
on, I spent 2
The
minutes on
fox is coming.
Yeah. So in the dog world, I think there's probably some of the same things of wanting to accomplish a job, especially if you're in show breeding, and also the image of not being embarrassed as the owner. Like, oh my gosh, my dog just did a horrible performance job and people are looking. Whatever your animal is, I think you have to separate out, in my head, what other people might be thinking and the critical minds that are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very good point.
But
We,
especially with this in the name, the explaining, you know, the name and explain, that can be really criticized. I would say, right? Like, why are you trying to explain this? Just do it.
well, I'll tell you what, I have some irritations about AI. And one of them is there are concepts that I have been talking about and naming for years. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing them all over the place. Condition relaxation, name and explain,
Oh.
intermediate bridge. And once your material gets uploaded into a source, even like published, where it goes on the internet, the AI bots search it, and it is now just word salad with everything else that anybody has ever written. And if you've used AI for anything technical, technical writing, like I think it's great for looking things up, but for technical writing, I don't think it's good at all. I can spot AI a mile away. And like my service for videos, they automatically use AI to write, synopses and chapter headings, and I have to erase them all and start over. So it actually causes me more work. I can get it done myself much faster. I think that's a huge consideration for people that are entrepreneurs. We're putting our material out there and they're stealing it.
Yeah.
And they're not even stealing it well. So I want to say hi to Joanne, and we lost Cindy Cole, and I have been looking forward to meeting her. So I hope she is able to come back. But Joanne, hi. Are you in a position to talk with us? You may be muted.
I was trying to unmute. I was having trouble.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you're breaking up a lot. It's difficult I can hear you fine, but there's a lot of missing sounds.
Okay. I live in a house that's not air conditioned, so it might be a fan
You know what? You
in the
can
back.
put it in the chat so I can read it.
Well, right now I'm just, I'm my goal for tonight pretty much was to listen. This is my first time I'm joining. I just want to listen. I do let the name explain. I do a lot of naming, not so much as explaining, but as identifying as a this is what's coming, and that seems to really work for me with my dog with her issues.
All right. So are you Joanne that last name starts with a P and
Yeah.
your dog doesn't like the fireworks? Okay. So let's try.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So did it help what you did?
I thought it helped. She seemed to be the fireworks did not last long.
Okay, you got to keep the answer really short because it's breaking up so much. So you said before you were able to feed her, so you thought that was a good sign. Have you seen other signs that it helped her?
Hold on, I'm trying to change your volume there. I had you on an external speaker. Can you hear me better now?
No.
No. Oh, I'm trying to turn my door on external speaker. No, the lights. Hold on.
Okay. Well,
okay. Can you hear me better now?
Well, okay. So
Joanne, can you type in the chat?
Hold on, I'm on the tab. From the chat on there. Okay. I can sort of type.
okay, just keep working on it on YouTube for right now, but I'll check back in with you because we're getting feedback. That happens if you get too close to certain electrical things, or if you've got two windows open, like windows on computers, or if you go onto speakerphone. Those are things that can cause that problem. I know a lot about that problem because we used to use a lot of lavalier mics when I was a dolphin trainer. And I remember one time the head trainer went to the local grocery store and hit on the cashier. And it interrupted the entire show transmission back at the aquarium. So we all were privy to his rejection. So we didn't blame her. We kind of were rooting for her, but anyway. Okay. So Laura, tell us what brought you here. You just wanted to, yeah, just whatever. What would
I just wanted to, so I just wanted to kind of see what this was about. I had seen the post the other day that you were getting some slack on as far as the training methods.
So what'd you think of that?
Well, I feel like that a lot of people can be closed-minded. That's the impression that I got from a couple of the people that were on there.
Yeah.
They weren't even
young.
interested in how he was training. All they cared about was the equipment that he was using.
Yeah, and they didn't even know how he was using it.
Right.
And they projected the worst possible things, which kind of says more about them than it does him. I mean, they have no way of knowing if that's not how he may have just picked up that animal, and that animal may have come in that equipment. You know,
Right.
if it's a dangerous dog, you may not be able to get it off right away.
Yes, and that was not even the topic of the post.
Yes, thank you very much.
So,
Did you guys all see that?
Yeah, was
Yes.
this training with Kayce on Facebook or where was this?
It was it's on my Facebook page.
It showed a picture of 6 dogs.
that we're fighting.
Yes.
Well, not in the picture, they weren't fighting, but they were with Matt Welch because Matt was helping them. So I'm going to tell you about Matt. He has turned around so many dogs. He also is a perception modification trainer. And it is such a privilege to know him. He was an outstanding trainer before he met me. I talked with him a lot about all of this, and he studied diligently. And I think what perception modification brought to the equation is we teach the animals coping skills. So I grew up on the Keeler method. And so I think Keeler was brilliant. I don't think he was brilliant about his bedside manner, but he was a brilliant trainer. And he set up processes for teaching dogs to come when they're off lead or to honor commands when they're off lead. And they are excellent. And for the guys that have taken classes, this is the start of cycles. And where I think Keeler falls down, and all dog training methods that I know of fall down because they don't have a logical way to explain what is wanted to the dog or the horse or the bird. So the only way, there's only two ways they've figured out to get animals to do something. And one is by physically correcting them if they randomly make the wrong choice. They don't tell them what kind of choice is going to get rewarded. They just give aversive consequences if the animal makes the wrong choice. And I didn't like that. And I can't do that anyway. Can you imagine me with exotic animals? Hey, buffalo. It's just not going to work. So the other way is luring. And luring has all kinds of problems, but they're subtle problems. They're not going to necessarily be recognizable by people that aren't even paying attention to what's being, what the subject of this chat is. It's like, so Laura, other people mentioned that I really promote observation and discernment. And I see so many times where somebody will watch a video and they get an impression. And instead of rewatching the video frame by frame so that they can see the cause and effect, they'll come out and they'll make a pronouncement that just makes you see they don't know what they're doing. So we have one, if you guys have seen it, Safi. Safi spelled Saffie. And the training was done by Annette Harwood at Wood Green Animal Shelters. And Annette had never been anywhere near a horse. But Safi and 28 other animals were slated for euthanasia. Wood Green is not normally a euthanasia shelter, but these animals had been in the shelter up to 3 years. And they couldn't ethically place them in homes. So Annette got certified in perception modification, and she was the person that did the retraining on all the difficult dogs. And so she and some other trainers went to the powers that be at Wood Green, and they requested that these dogs get a reprieve for 2 weeks. I say dogs, one was a goat that wanted to butt people, and one was this really mean horse, Safi. And Safi was mean enough that nobody that knew her wanted to help her. They didn't even want to be involved with Annette. So Annette and another dog trainer that had horse experience went, and then in the first meeting, she's just trying to name body parts for Safi. She's just trying to find a place where she can have a little bit of success so Safi can start to experience success. So she reaches in and she goes, I'm going to touch your cheek. Ow, that hurts, that kind of thing, right? Because Safi's trying to bite her. Well, or Nipper at least. Sassy didn't look like she was deadly serious about it, but she was agonistic. So they're at this fence, and Annette is standing there, but Sappy's got 3 acres or something that she doesn't have to be at that fence at all. And she tries to get Annette, and Annette is very game and very brave. And she goes, okay, and this is your ear, good. And this is your other cheek, and that kind of thing. And somebody watched the video and said, she is pressuring that horse. The horse would have been so insulted. She was clearly pressuring the trainer and would have wanted full credit for that. But people don't watch. And another thing people have said, and this is true, that is not good technique. That's not good SATS technique. Annette excuse me 1 second. So Joanna says, having some computer problems, will need to watch the recording. Sorry I couldn't participate tonight. We're sorry too, but just come on back the next time and definitely get the recording, and just post your comments on my Facebook page. So, whatever you think about it, because we'll probably get into issues pretty soon. So if you have any issues you want to hear discussed, you can put that in the chat right now before you sign out if you like. But thank you so much for coming to be with us. I appreciate it. So Annette had just learned this stuff, and she didn't have time to hone her technique because these animals were slated for euthanasia now. And so instead, she just jumped in there, and they turned around 27 of those animals in 2 weeks, which was a total of 15 hours of training time per animal. And they got put up for adoption. They all got adopted within 1 week. So that left a tail-chasing bull terrier and Safi, who also had to learn to ride in a horse trailer, all that stuff. And so Annette went to Wood Green, and they gave her a 2-week extension because the animals were doing very well. They could see that, and all the other animals had not only solved their problems, but learned all their on and off lead basic obedience in the same 15 hours. So Annette persisted, and those 2 animals graduated out, and within 30 hours, if they went on the special problem unit, they had 2 weeks. That's why it was 15 hours or 30 hours. 2 weeks was equal to 15 hours of training. So those animals got put up for adoption. They both got adopted within 1 week. I just talked to the horse owners, well, a year and a half ago now. Horse is still going strong 15 years later. We followed these dogs, and I was really curious because Wood Green did not tell the new owners anything. Nothing about bridging, nothing about targeting, nothing about name and explain. They just set those dogs loose with these people, and none of them got returned within the 2 years. And I'm like, for goodness sakes, call these people. Find out, did they eat them and roast them for Thanksgiving because there was nothing else to do? Or did they give them away? Or did the dogs run away? Or did they die? Or what? And they were all successfully still in their homes. And that was a really important moment, because 2 things that it told me that were really critical is that the animals were self-managing. Mm-hmm. As little information as the owners gave, there was nothing they could have known to do to support these animals, many of whom had been in homes multiple times and actually came back worse each time. And now their problems are solved. The second thing was that even though this technique is painstaking, I mean, it really is painstaking, but it's very user friendly. Because if you really know your stats, and Annette does, she looks back on this and she'll go, oh God, I can't believe I did blah, blah, blah. But I'm the expert and I'm like, hush, you just saved the lives of 29, actually 30 animals, guys, because the goat is a herd animal. So Wood Green thought it was unethical to put a goat out without another goat. So they went to the livestock auction and they bought another goat that was headed for slaughter. So in addition to the 29 animals they had, they brought in another animal. So Annette saved the lives of 30 animals in 30 days. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Nobody's perfect. If you watch my videos, you'll see all kinds of mistakes. But we do enough right that we don't just change animal lives, we give them lives. We give them back their lives. And they are not dependent on people that never signed up to be animal trainers. People that are so overwhelmed trying to just live their lives that their dog falls through the cracks. So I always tell Annette, there's got to be a statue made to you by all these dogs that you have helped. So when you pass over, go check it out. So anyway, I don't mean to go on and on. I just, I think it's amazing. Like, I would have never done that test. I would have never set things up that way. But I wasn't involved in it. I didn't do the training. I did the training of the humans, but I wasn't there to train the dogs. Well, that's not totally true. I was there. I met all those animals. I don't know if I met 100%, but I met them. So I did have something to do with like maybe 1 or 2 training sessions, but then I came back to the US and they continued the work there and they did the work. So phenomenal. When you hear that, Laura, what does it make you think or wonder? Like, do you just go, yeah, I've seen that before? Or is there anything about it that makes you go, I'm from Missouri, show me, or it didn't happen, or what?
Now, just hearing the results that you get with this just makes me want to learn more about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I've seen a little bit, in the past of this stuff, but I haven't seen enough of it to be confident enough to presume that I know what I need to do. And that's why I need to learn more about it. And so I'm always looking to learn. I like to know the whys of things. So yeah. So
I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for you because that is a complicated characteristic to have.
Yeah.
For you guys that have already done this and done it for a while, each of you guys has stuck around really for years. So is that because they just don't do much socially where you're from? I know you recognize my crazy sense of humor, Jill.
I just love the system, Laura. It's something that just grows and grows. And my background before SATS was clicker. And talk about having to unlearn a system where some people think they're similar and they are so different. And I had to completely unlearn all that, get that out of the way so I could be open to this. But you might find people in the training world that say, oh, that's just like, I just do clicker. And they're so different that you just have to clear the slate of that information.
That's the hardest thing, isn't it? To have to deconstruct your habits.
Well, clicker is so out there. It's from the get-go, don't shoot the dog. That's what everybody learned, in the 80s or whatever.
Yep.
And so you had your battle then, and now you've got AI. So
yeah, right. Yeah, I'm probably just hard to get along with.
Yeah.
Kathy, I would love for you to share more of your story, because one of the things when Kathy first started, when I first met her, well, we'd known each other on the Bridge and Target group for a long time, maybe 10 years.
No, longer. Well, 10 years. When I looked back, because I had notes when you did the email list when I met Harry. So NPay I've had for 14 years, and I would say at least for 12, I started retraining, relearning.
So when Kathy came to do a class, she wanted to show that NPay was smart, and she had done a lot of work, and she showed a lot of pretty advanced targeting work, and we use targets for everything in SAT. But just barely under the surface, NPay was so frustrated and so wanting to get even. And I stopped Kathy because NPay was rearing up. And I'm like, you need to put that horse away. Were you angry when I told you all that? I was like really
no, not at all, because the thing is, when you think of a dangerous horse, I know you do dogs, but a dangerous horse, probably the most dangerous behavior is a rear. And it's a rear that what he would do is rear at me. So, and this wasn't anything, this was way before we started working together. He came with this. He came with this angry attitude, and instead of he skipped all the, well, no, he did some flight and run away, pull away, all of that. And if those things didn't work, he'd come at me and rear, and he actually like knocked me out one time. And so he was extremely dangerous. And for 2 years, I tried many different techniques to try to get a hold of it, and couldn't. And then gradually, with Kayce's help, but it was a gradual thing. It wasn't like at Wood Green where all of a sudden, oh, this is miraculous.
Well, no, that's not true. Here's the thing. Kathy went and took a class from a very talented student of mine. And I don't remember how I heard, I think you told me about it. I go, Kathy, why are you taking classes from my students and you've never tried a class? So
well, we weren't doing a class then. Carrie helped me from the beginning, and we got together through the email list. You hadn't started your class.
I've been doing classes for a few years, but that's okay. That doesn't matter. If you didn't hear about it, it wasn't happening as far. But anyway, she's bravely walking this horse along, and I'm like, you need to put him in his thing and do this and this and this. And she did it. Kathy, it was within 2 weeks. We never saw that behavior again. After that one video of him rearing, we never saw him attempting to rear.
Yeah, it's still in him. I know he could, if he's pushed out of his comfort zone. That's one of the things that, as I've gotten older and he's gotten older, and I thought, well, why am I pushing? We have our places where we go, but I'm not out around the neighborhood where we both might start getting nervous. Speeding cars, I've got, all that stuff. But at home and where he knows, there's no rear. And
but that's been a big change with you also, because initially your interest was all related to writing.
Yeah. Now I will say
Kathy-
though, but I do write him. I mean, he's amazing. He's
No,
so,
I know, but I'm remembering back to when you first started and you were like, I want to go here and do this, and all the other people are doing that, and they ride by and they see me walking the horse.
yeah.
Like, you know, when I was in high school, hey Kayce, you know, you can ride that thing. But but
We,
one of the things I just love is, first of all, Kathy has evolved to a different person as well. Because when we were talking last time, you go, well, I'm not a patient person. I go, Kathy, I know you're not a patient person, but you are a patient person. And the last time we talked, every time you talk to people now, you emphasize how much joy there is in the relationship
yeah.
and the sense of humor. So, Laura, Kathy wanted to pick figs and she wasn't tall enough. So she gets Enepe to come over to the fence and she stands on his back and picks figs and shares them with him.
Yeah, he's just amazing. He brings me his food dish. He brings me, he's in the backyard here and he calls me to show the relationship that we have. I can only have one. I can't have a companion goat or anything. It is what it is. We have each other, but it works out really well. He calls me. It's like, he called earlier. You probably didn't hear it, but it's like, you know, usually it's around mealtime. You know, you're a little late with my dinner.
Yeah.
But he's got with the fig tree, the figs are just now getting ripe and he's been checking the fig tree. But what he does is he presents his butt, and talk about being in a precarious situation if you don't trust your animal, because I really am balanced on his butt. And he's usually looking around like this, like a giraffe, to see if reach it.
To
Can you reach
supervise.
it? Yeah. But it's that kind of, not only the humor he shows, but the communication. Now,
Yeah.
how many people can actually stand on the horse's butt to reach a fig that's way up at the top of the tree?
Well, and also he totally gets what you're trying to do. And he's aligned with your purpose because he has to stand, you know, like where you need him to stand. So, I mean, it's good.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
But
good.
the other thing I would say is the free will that he's allowed to have. And that's something that's from me being more relaxed and all of that, but recognizing sometimes he doesn't want my help or need my help or want
Yeah.
my instruction. And so, for example, he gets free range of the backyard here when I'm doing something and I'll let him out and he goes and scratches on the bush and does this and was that. And when it's time to go back in, I'll walk out with just a catch rope or something and tell him, Pay, it's really time for you to go back. And I give him a warning, and I want you to lift your head when I count to 3. I don't just grab him up. I give him a chance to process. I say, okay, time to go back in. You need to raise your head. And what he often will do is he picks up his head and then he like runs back into the crowd and he has to make like 2 sharp right turns to get back in, and including sometimes I have to make sure that I've unlatched the gate because a couple of times he's like into the gate. It's like, the gate's closed. If I make sure the gate's open for
No,
him.
seriously, it wasn't on purpose.
I know, but the point is that he tells me I don't need your help. I can do it
Yeah.
myself. I
Yeah,
told
if
him
you want
what
me to
needs.
go in there, just tell me and I'll just do it.
Exactly. And I can do it myself. You know, that's his independence part. I really
Yeah.
don't need your help on this.
Do you remember, one of the things I remember is being a kid, there were 2 things, tying my shoes and learning to ride a bicycle. And I just found those very challenging. And I was very demanding. Okay, show me how to do. Show me, show me, show me. And then I learned it. And then my mother tried to help me. I want to do it myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I
almost
really
thinking
do.
like of how a child thinks sometimes. It's
So everybody thinks.
true, but
And the way he does that, that's also a sense of humor because the timing, it's a joke. Like
mhm.
he lets you count and he lets you think you're going to put the bridle on or the halter on.
I know.
It's
well,
like, what are you going to say? I didn't let you put the bridle on, but I went in.
no.
I'm right, kind of. Think on that. You take all the time you need.
Yeah, but Laura, some of the things that we also that are different in SOTS is that not this goes along with giving the animal the choice, but he has his favorite foods, his favorite treats, and there's a toggle system that Kayce teaches where you can give him a choice. You know, do you want? And I always believe the answer. I never question the answer. Do you want this fly mask or this fly mask, or do you if it's time for a treat, like do you want the carrot or do you want the apple? And he has preferences, and I'll tell you, his favorite is strawberries, which are rather expensive, but you know, if I give him the choice, do you want a strawberry? That's always like, yeah, I
Yeah,
want
yeah.
but it's
Definitely, yeah.
giving them a way to communicate with the choice. Like Kayce has the example in class of if her horse Sarah wanted to wear a blanket or not, and it's like believe the answer because they have an opinion, they have an answer. You just have to give them a way to tell you what their answer is.
Yeah, and Laura, when it comes to embodied language, there's some universal gestures like cockatoos and horses and young guys. You know, oh yeah, I'm the person. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They all do that. And sidelong glance. And with my horse, I remember a time when she was at the stable then, and it was about to rain, and she's older, she's 33. And I would prefer she stayed inside, but she always wanted to be outside with the other horses. But this day I thought that she didn't want to go outside. I said, Sarah, do you want to stay in or go out for the night? And she said, in. Well, unlike Kathy, who wisely believes the answer to the question, I'm going, she never wants to stay in. Do you want to sleep in the field or in your stall? And she looks at me like, are you not feeling right? Stall. So I called the stable owner and I said, Sarah wants to stay in. Do you mind? Nope, that's fine. So the barn manager comes in right after that. And I said, Sarah wants to stay in tonight. And the owner says it's okay. And she goes, oh, don't worry. When I came in, I just had a funny feeling that she wanted to stay inside. So I asked her and she wanted to stay inside, but I didn't believe her because she never wants to stay inside. So I asked her again and she looked at me like I was retarded. So I asked her if she wanted hay. That was a definite yes. But it's funny because I've talked like this to, groups of horse trainers and everything else, and really never got an inroad, never got people really excited about the amazing possibilities. Like it took Sarah like 15 minutes to learn all the letters for a dressage arena so I could just stand any place and send her to whichever letter I needed her to go to.
Wow,
And
that's
yeah, that's helpful, right? But people didn't really uh, take to it. But at the stable, where they would just kind of eyeball what we were doing and what I was asking Sarah, then I found out all these people are asking my horse questions when I'm not around. And then they start asking their horse questions. And the difference is my horse, we actually teach the vocabulary, we test the vocabulary. I don't rely on ESP, although I suspect the horse has ESP, but So, but now they're all doing it.
Wow.
They're all doing it. So that's a good thing. Because another thing we find out is most of these animals know a lot of language, but we don't systematically test it usually. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh. It's funny because that's always been controversial what animals actually, as far as vocabulary,
Yeah.
understand human
Yeah.
language. So I find that interesting.
Sarah can tell you really, I mean, even without virtually any instruction, is this a tool for your skin or your feet? Is this food or is this a tool? If it's a food, it goes in the red bucket. If it's a tool, it goes in the white bucket. Which bucket does this go in, red or white? And if you watch those videos of her doing that work, she's just like, ding, 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 ding. It's none of this. Don't tell me the answer. I know. Let me think. No, it's not like that. It's like if I asked you and you would just, just like Sarah, ding, 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 ding. And there's a video where an intern that worked with me from the Netherlands is helping me video this. And Sarah has been tested on over 500 words and concepts. But how do you ask an animal one of 500 things? I have to reduce it to one out of two things. So a binary thing, is it this or other? Is it this, yes or no? That kind of thing. Is it food or tool? So whatever you do, it has to be binary because I can't say, what is it? Because she doesn't have any words.
Right.
So I have this video of Annette from the Netherlands showing Sarah a pair of items, and she shows her one to tell me, this is the one. So then I back into the frame. I've been out of the frame, so I can't hear or see them. And I come into the frame and I say to Sarah, was it the cell phone or the hoof pick? And she got them. I think she got them all right. In fact, she got one right. And the trainer's going, no. Annette's going, no. Annette was wrong. The horse was correct. Anyway, I'm showing another trainer this. I've seen this video like 10 times. And the other trainer goes, you know what I really love is if you get the answer right the first time, Sarah nods her head up and down like she's trying to encourage you. But if you get it wrong, she doesn't tell you no. She just patiently comes up and tells you the right choice. What? And I go and watch it again. If you watch it, I think I counted 8 times where the first choice was the correct choice. And Sarah's like, yep. And then if I don't accept that because I'm like, no, I'm the superior being, you have to come and prove that you even though I never proved that I know anything. This is not an equal pairing. I hope you understand that. So anyway, it was just such a mind opener. And there's so many times where I'm so full of my own agenda that, I miss things. And sometimes I go, Sarah, can you move to your left? And like I'm in the space on her left. She couldn't move to her left. And she looks at me like, and I look like, what's the problem? I go, your other left. I go, Sarah, you can't get good help. You've got me. That I can't tell you what to say. It's like, so it's really interesting. But really, our purpose here isn't to talk about SATs, although I do love to talk about it. I want to talk about training in general. And that could be issues, that could be technique. Probably we should stay away from gossip because it would probably include us. And I'll take a minute here to say, hi, Nick. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
We're good. Do you have your Hera video?
Let me see.
If
I
you
would have
do,
more
that
for
would be fun to see. If you don't mind if it gets put in the
Yeah,
it's a
sure.
public recording. Yeah, that'd be great.
Let me, because I'm on the phone, so I think I have to. Give me
Okay.
2 seconds to try and figure this thing out off
Yeah,
the phone.
and if it's not good this time, we could do it next time. And then I'll go back to Laura to hear what she would like to talk about too.
I don't have anything specific, just because I wasn't really sure what this was going to be about. So I'm
Yeah,
more
it's
to,
not scripted.
yeah, to kind of observe, see how this goes, see just
Yeah.
see what this is all about, really.
Really, the whole point is that I see so many people talking about things like in that discussion where they don't really know where where the other trainers are coming from, where they've been. They don't really understand their techniques. And there's so much at stake.
Sorry, I found.
Oh, okay, great. So we'll go there in just a second. So, is it what you anticipated, Laura?
So as far as the SATs conversation, that was great. It was really interesting hearing the different scenarios and how you're working that.
So we didn't just bore you. That's good.
Oh no, not at all. No, not at all. But yeah, as far as training, it's such a controversial thing anymore. Um, because there's so many people that are stuck in their own heads, I think, really,
Yeah.
and they're closed-minded.
Yeah.
I think we just live in a time right now where people are just on edge. People get very defensive.
Yeah, that we do, don't we?
It's going to hurt not just dog training, but a lot of industries because people just want to fight.
Yeah.
But I like to just try to gather more information so that I can understand things a little bit better as opposed to
Yeah.
judging. Because I don't want to judge. I want to know. I want knowledge. I don't want to. So it is really hard for people to be open-minded with things
Well,
and
and
try
even,
new things.
yeah, it is important. And even if we do judge, I mean, we do judge in that we have to figure out, am I going to do it this way? Am I going to do it that way? What's the problem that will come with doing this? But we still need to get along. We still need to groom people. We still need to help them to develop. We're not going to get out of this alive. We have to work together and, for goodness sakes, learn our lessons. I hear that Earth is a school. Now, Nick and I met because we're both friends with Matt Welch. And are you here because you saw that particular discussion about Matt? So I don't know if you even saw that, Nick.
I briefly saw it.
Yeah, there's 80 comments now, so it's like not worth it because most of them are irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody kind of is almost myopic, and I'm just as guilty of it as anyone else. I would say where my world revolves around certain things, okay, and I may never work with a labradoodle or something like that, right? So the mindset that is even in the breeding and the whole thing of the dogs that I'm working with is so different than most people understand, and so I can't, in good conscience, take my world and bring it into the pet world without making some sort of adjustments.
Yeah.
And that person who's working that pet world can't come into my world without making adjustments. And those adjustments, not just in the way that they do things, but they have to understand that there's differences in the dogs.
Yes.
Complete differences in the dogs. So, what I briefly saw on that discussion was someone asked about prongs, and you know, It becomes, yeah, maybe not every dog,
Well,
obviously, right, needs prongs, sure.
yeah.
And like Hera on the video that I posted there, I have videos where Hera has no prong, no flat collar, no nothing in doing things, but if somebody thinks that they're going to teach her based on what is expected of her in other scenarios without some other way,
Yeah.
they're going to run up against the wall,
Yeah.
and they're more than
One of
welcome
the
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And one of the things that people that don't work certain kinds of animals don't understand is their perception is different. Like
Correct.
an animal that's in high drive doesn't even feel a prong collar.
Correct.
They
Correct.
don't
And
even,
then and you have to remember, just like I said, in the beginning, that prong collar, is, it may look barbaric to someone, but it's very reminiscent of their moms.
oh, I never thought about that. Interesting.
If you ever see a mom correct a puppy, um there's like a hierarchy of things. The puppy will come in, let's say, try to get some milk, right? And let's say she's done feeding, she'll look at the puppy, and the puppy will be like, yeah, I'm still coming, and she'll kind of give him this look, right? And the puppy still keeps coming, right? And then she may growl, or right, and then some puppies will go away, and there'll be another couple of puppies that, no, 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 we're it's okay, we're still gonna come and see what happens, and then sometimes she'll show teeth after that, right?
Yeah.
And growl, right? And then some puppies will stop there, and then other puppies, no, no, that's not for me, that's for someone else, and then she'll go ahead, and one gets a little closer, and then suddenly what looks to be, to the uninitiated, almost a very violent act. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you hear the puppy whap, 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 and all that whole thing, right? And yeah, again, if you just look at it, you're like, oh my God, what just happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
And in reality, if you were to really study what really just happened, it was just, smoke and mirrors.
Well, and that is smoke and mirrors because they are great actors.
Yes.
So on a
Yes.
different but similar topic, my Doberman used to want to chase cats, but none of the cats would pay any attention to him. And there was this cat that would come and walk the top of the privacy fence in the backyard and taunt Duncan. And one day I was coming down a ramp out of the laundry room with a big pile of laundry, and Duncan and the cat are doing this thing. Duncan's like, just slip a little. I got you. I'll catch you.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep.
I saw it, and I startled them accidentally, and the cat fell into my yard. And in a flash, I goes, ah! And the cat is screaming and howling, and I jumped down,
Uh-huh.
and he did. And the cat sprang up on top of the fence. And sorry, I got you in trouble, Duncan. See you tomorrow. Okay,
Yeah.
not a mark on him.
Yep.
Not a mark on the cat. And Duncan's all like, I know I'm not supposed to do that, but yeah, you should have told me you were. Yeah. Did you see Kathy's note about your video?
No, no, let me see. I didn't see it because of the way the phone's set up here.
Here, I'll do it for you. I just watched,
I
or
just
you,
said,
yeah,
it's amazing. I'll just say in the person, amazing,
Oh, thank you.
incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, it's and can that be done, without a tool? Maybe, it's also,
okay. So
you have to kind of,
I'm going to tell you yes.
yes, yeah.
Absolutely. But
Well, I see, though, in this video, you don't have any collar on at all. So I must have seen that the one you posted is
Oh.
not the one that was.
Oh, no. The thing is this, I mean, she's at that level where it doesn't matter. And that's the thing, right? The tool for me doesn't matter ultimately. The goal
right.
ultimately is to run what we call clean skin,
Yeah.
meaning nothing. there's no prong, there's no flat, there's no nothing. If we had to run and do work, that doesn't matter, right? But in the getting to that point, you know, I don't view a prong or an e-collar, and I'll say this, I've been doing this for a while, and I have never used an e-collar with any of my dogs.
Interesting, Nick, because many in your ilk do.
Yes. And not only do they use 2 and 3 e-collars receivers on the
Really?
dog. Oh yeah. Yes.
Well, there's so much to impact in this. Now I opened your video. There we go. Okay.
Cross.
So, you know, but to me, you know, whether it's an e-collar or a prong,
cross.
and look,
Good
I'll say this:
cross.
do I see some sort of
Good
barbaric
cross.
thing in the
Good
e-collar?
girl.
No.
Come on.
And the only
Good
reason I don't
cross.
use it is
Good girl.
not because
Come on.
I have anything against the e-collar.
Yeah.
It's just because I just see the e-collar as a long distance lead. That's it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
All of the tools and everything is just a feedback mechanism. That's how I see it.
Well, and also the subject of my last podcast was that I don't care if you taught your dog to, you know, keep in perfect alignment with you through using astrology.
Yeah,
When
exactly.
you take that dog into public and you've got a high drive dog that could kill somebody, hurt somebody, cause an accident, you are responsible.
Right.
If you do not have safety backup equipment that can back you up, you are wrong.
Correct.
And, you know, I don't care if you have little Molly, whatever. And I wish this hadn't been showing, because I was going to tell everybody here that you wouldn't work with a doodle because you only work with full blood poodles.
Yeah, exactly.
But you wrecked my joke. Okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, it you know, again, I didn't pay too much attention to the post, right? But
Yeah.
you know, it's a very Matt's world is a very different world. And I could say, realistically speaking, probably less than 1 or 2% of the dogs that are out there will fall within those parameters.
Right.
And the number of people that are dealing with those dogs is probably even smaller than that. And then the number that are successfully dealing with that,
Yeah.
you know,
And gently.
yes.
Like, I watch Matt work, and I don't care what he has on that dog. That dog is loving what they do.
Yes.
He can go in there with a dog that's too dangerous to take out of the crate and have it out of the crate within 3 hours, and the dog is licking him on the face.
Yep. You know, and I told him I was actually with him on Friday, and you know, the thing is this. So in my world, we always say that the dog reflects the handler and the handler reflects the dog.
Yeah.
And so you know, Matt is a warrior. Okay, so those dogs know a fellow warrior. Those dogs are warriors. Okay, and so they're like, oh, okay, you're one of us. So I'm gonna, you know, listen to you. I'm gonna work with you. And it's not even to say that they just roll over and just, you know, whatever, right? But there's an understanding that happens. And that's
recognition.
Not, yes,
an instant recognition.
A predator knows another predator, and there's a respect from one predator to another.
You know what? I never thought about it like that. Did I tell you my story about my assistant?
Mm-mm.
Okay, this true story. I had an assistant of 25 years. She was definitely family, and she was so good with people. I never presumed to give her any people advice.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys know me, the idea that I didn't presume is amazing in itself. So she started dating this guy, and she never would let guys that she dated know where she lived because of her history with her divorced mother and her divorced mother's boyfriends.
Mm-hmm.
But in the case of this person, she met him at her property because he was on a crew of people doing, you know, grass cutting and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so they started dating. So she wanted me to meet him, and I went by her house, and she was having like a Thanksgiving kind of cocktail hour or something. And I went to meet this man, and he was very quiet and very well spoken. And there was something wrong. And you just shot me back there when you said that, what you did about a predator recognizes a predator. So we read each other. We all read other animals, we read other people, whether we're conscious of it or not. We read them, just like you're saying, they recognize Matt automatically.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I have, we were, we were working a dog that was getting ready to deploy with a handler that was getting spun up into, doing what they do, but, now suddenly with a dog. And one of the drills that we were doing, we had the decoy on an elevated platform. It was a wall that the dogs would jump up on, and it was probably 3.5 feet, high, give or take. And the decoy was up there, and the exercise was basically to deploy the dog, and the dog would jump up on the wall and hit the decoy. Just prior to giving the command to go after him, I asked the handler. I said, "Hey, you think the dog's going to go up the wall?" And he's like, "I'm not sure. I don't think so." I'm like, "Okay, cool." I said, "Everybody make a note of that." Okay. He deploys the dog, and magically the dog did not go up the wall, right? And everyone's like, "Whoa, okay." And I said, "Call the dog back." Okay, call the dog back. And I said, "Okay, so now that I want you to believe that dog is going to go up the wall." And he's like, "Well, no, just listen to me. Believe that dog is going to go up the wall. I want you to think, well, as that dog is running in that direction, that dog is jumping up that
To
wall,
see it
and
happening right.
yep, and it's taking down that decoy. In fact, I want you to target that decoy. I want you to look arms, legs, and literally in your head take that decoy apart." He calls the dog back. He deploys the dog, and suddenly, with no change in anything, okay, the dog goes flying up that wall and brings the decoy down. Okay. Now
Yeah.
I've seen that numerous times. I couldn't explain it to you other than I've seen it. Is there some sort of a scientific reasoning?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, the observer affects the outcome. My dad's a nuclear physicist, and we used to hear about all the time. There's Heisenberg uncertainty principle, and what's the other one? Schrodinger's cat. So if you want to read more about, yes.
Okay. Well, now I mean, I have seen that. I have seen. I don't know if you're familiar with an
Yeah,
MRAP.
that
An
is so
MRAP.
cool.
An MRAP is this big truck that is a mine
Oh,
resistant armored personnel vehicle.
okay.
It's probably from the tires on the ground to the top where there's a turret, it's probably about 20 something feet up.
Wow.
Okay.
So
We had a
that's not
decoy.
one of those. That's one of those things in Star Wars where they went around and scavenged stuff in the desert.
It's almost like that. It's a beast, and basically what the way the dog can make it up is by basically climbing up the front. It'll climb up the bumper onto the hood and then up onto the roof and then at the turret. And we had a guy that the dog made it up there, hit the decoy, and engaged for 2 seconds and then let go and came back down. And he's like, "I don't know." And so we brought out another handler. Now this handler was a longtime operator, very, very violent when it needed to be, kind of thing, right? He had violence in his heart. Nothing changed other than the handler. There wasn't even a talking to the dog. There was nothing. Just change the handler. Handler deploys the dog goes flying up the MRAP and stays on that decoy. Almost ripped him off the top of the truck. So, what is the explanation?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I know if you doubt that your dog will do it,
Yeah.
it won't. And if you don't doubt that your dog will do it, it will.
You're going to have a
complete the
much
task.
better outcome. And I'll tell you another thing. I have literally tested at National Zoo. If you sit there and go, do it, do it, do it, it jams.
Mm-hmm.
Animal will just quit. If you just sit there and see the outcome, you'll get it.
Yeah.
You'll get it. Well,
It's crazy stuff.
so I want to tell you guys the rest of this other story, because it's another point in Nick's story. And then we got to see this video because it's amazing. So I go and I meet this person and I'm automatically pinging him. And I realize I'm not getting anything back. He is so guarded. There is nothing for me to read on him. And all of a sudden, I flashed to all the times I'd watched animals stalking other animals. This guy, exactly as you said, Nick, he's a predator.
Mm-hmm.
So I found myself doing what my monkey did. My monkey, if she suspected you, would come out and go, see if you went, like you were guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't that dramatic about it, but I was just bugging him. And I could see almost imperceptibly the irritation growing. And it was a really cold, sleety, dark night. And this guy says to me, I'm going to smoke a cigarette. Come out with me. Into the sleet. And I knew, do not leave this area. So he went out and smoked his cigarette. And I may have even spent the night there. But anyway, the next day I talked to my friend and she said, what'd you think of this guy? And I said, well, he was very well spoken. He's very intelligent. I'm glad you like him. Most of the people didn't like him, but they couldn't tell me what. No, I don't like him at all. This guy is a predator. He's an expert predator. You need to get him out of your life as soon as possible. And she goes, damn, because he already knows where I live. Well, supposedly that's what she was trying to do. This was right around Thanksgiving. We're closing on our house last day of January, and I get a phone call from my sister. She's been murdered by this guy.
Oh, wow.
So one of the things I always say to trainers, when you get that sense of menace, believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you saw anything. You get the sense of menace, that is a gift. Act on it. Okay, so now let's see if Nick can train anything.
It's questionable.
Oh, this is great, but it's not the same one. I want to see the other one too, but I might. Oh, I think I have it open.
Through. Let's go. Come on. Come on, let's go. Cross.
I wanted like
cross.
encourage her, good
Good
girl,
cross.
good girl.
Let's go. Let's go. Come on.
Look at the tension
Cross.
in the little feeties.
Let's go. Good cross. Good cross. Good cross. Good cross. Good cross. Good girl. Come on. Good girl.
Woo! So Nick, if I was ever there, I'd be, you good girl, you are so smart. Look at you go, girl. You show them how the girls do it. La 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 la. And she'd probably just finally get across and just bite me, Let me see if I've got that other one, because these are both excellent. You guys can talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, there's times like, where I'll say, good cross, good cross, good cross, that type of thing, right? And ironically, this is what you're seeing is kind of the beginning stages, right? Of the learning. And then after it's the full expectation that, the dog can understand, okay, here's a bridge, I'm going to cross the bridge. So once you just say cross, okay, cross, or let's say we're going into a building and we just want the dog to go forward. It's, or if they were going to have, now they're kind of moving in the direction of having like these headsets on them and you can kind of talk to them. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's, of course, directionals, right? But if you just want the dog to go forward, it's push. So it's push, 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 push. And then it's, okay, left, right, stand, down, Plutz or whatever, the thing is. So they have to be able to take those and use and understand the generalization of it so they can use it across the board in whatever it is that they encounter. And if they encounter something that they're not familiar with, ironically, I'm telling them, hey, figure it out, work the problem, figure it out, figure it out, and
But also
you'll see
that
them.
support too, right?
I'm sorry.
That support too, like you're
Yes.
right there and you believe they can
Yes.
do it.
Yes, absolutely. We're definitely there while they're going through it in the beginning. And then once they've got it figured out, I mean, you just say, climb, and there they go, whatever it is that you want them to do.
Yeah. So,
So the thing is, if you look at the sport world, they want the dog to be constantly looking at the handler.
yeah.
And that's all fine and good. But in my world, you want the dog to understand certain things and then figure
Good
out what
turn.
it's got to do.
Good turn. Good turn.
Yeah. Go ahead and finish what you're saying and we'll start.
Yeah, they've got to be able to, well, like the old saying, right? Improvise, adapt, and overcome, whatever that situation is, right? And so now we also have, whereas you might have external, things that are going to try and attract the dog, we may have gunfire going off, we may have all sorts of things, so those are the differences that we're not, like, for instance, something, like our tone, right, when we're talking to the dog, we're not necessarily talking in like a high pitched tone.
Yeah.
We're kind of, and I'm guilty of it almost in my, personal life now, like I sound very monotone.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I get that.
and it's, it's just the constant,
That's why your
cross
dog
and
would
cross.
bite me because she'd be like, chill out.
She would judge you first, yes, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
would the look she would give you, you'd be like, wow, okay, I guess I did something wrong.
But when I hit back, she'd know.
Yeah.
But Nick, when I see how you're communicating, the dog, you're letting the dog concentrate. So you're not a distraction, just you're encouraging, but
Correct.
monotone. So you're not, I mean, look at the concentration. If you were like, as Kayce demonstrates, yay, what a good dog and stuff, you're like, stop distracting me. I'm really concentrating here.
Correct.
Well,
And yes, that kind of does fall
and
into
in the situation she's going to go into, she's not going to get that kind of feedback anyway.
right, exactly. So
They
you're preparing the dog for that understanding that ultimately them completing the task becomes the reward in and of itself, because
which is really interesting from a training perspective.
So we don't I don't use any treats.
Yeah.
I don't use any
I love
balls, any tugs,
That's
nothing.
right. You're not using any balls.
Right. There's no balls. The only
tugs?
time, unless we're playing, like literally, we're just going to take 5 minutes and we're going to play, right? But there's never a point in time where the ball is used to say jump over a wall, because I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to throw the ball over the wall.
Yeah. So no extrinsics, but no tugs, no decoy sleeves, no decoys, no spare gardeners that you found drunk.
No. The only time you'll see a decoy or anything like that is, if it's time to, do bite work, and the bite work in and of itself, one of the biggest things that I run into is, everybody wants to have this dog that is this monster that's going to bite and all this type of thing, right? And look, a Chihuahua will bite. Anyone can get a dog to bite.
And induce shock. They don't have to be big to stop somebody. Okay, go ahead.
And so the trick isn't to bite. The trick is not to bite, and only bite when it's necessary.
Yeah.
And so like on Friday, Matt and I went to lunch and I brought her with me because we were helping with a dog that he's got that's reactive to other dogs. Okay. And, we went to a sushi restaurant. He's like, "You're taking her in?" I go, "Oh, yeah. Anywhere I go, she goes." She
Yeah.
went under the table. They didn't even know she was there. They don't care. We've been on flights, and we're getting out of the plane and people like, "There was a dog here?" Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a different world. It's a
That's
totally
not
different
so much. That's not so much because I got into a cab in New York and took my monkey out of my duffel bag and I got the same response.
world. I could see that being an issue. Yeah. But,
The cab driver was like, he wanted to stop, but he also wanted to get me out of his cab. Okay, you guys ready to see this? Because we're almost out of time. It flies.
Turn. Good turn. Good turn. Good turn. Good turn. Let's go cross. Cross. Good cross. 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 Let's go. Good girl.
That is so good. You guys want to see it again?
Turn. Good turn. Good turn. Good turn. Good turn. Let's go cross. Cross. Good cross. 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 Let's go. Good girl.
She's like, let me get off of here before he gets another good idea.
Yeah. It's yeah, I mean, it's she knows that I'm never gonna expect her or want her to do something that I am not or won't do myself.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing.
You're
That's a
telling me you do that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we've been on some, I'm not a fan of heights, but boy have we been on some high places doing some crazy things. Because I'm like, hey, if you're going, I'm going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gosh, guys, isn't that so much of it? It's like you don't lead from behind. You don't
And
lead from
it's
behind.
I remember one of the first times we were getting on the helicopter and, she's looking at me, she had her goggles on, right? Because for the rotor wash,
Yeah, yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, this is getting loud." I'm like, "Yeah." And she's looking at me and she's, I could see it in her face. And she's like, "Where are we going?" And I'm like, "We're going in," we got in, sat in, and as, the helicopter took off, her eyes bulged. But she was like, "Okay, if we're going in together, we're going in together."
Yeah.
So, in my world, a lot of that is, under what most people would call stressful scenarios, stressful
Yeah.
evolutions, right? So we both technically embrace the suck and it just sucks for both of us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Know,
But you're there together.
yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
It's can I ask you how many years you've been doing this?
So I'm coming into my 10th year.
You've only been doing this 10 years?
Yeah.
You don't sound like a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've had dogs, from pit bulls to, South African mastiffs, but, like the working dogs, the Mals, the Dutchies and the Shepherds, 10 years.
Okay. Well, it's amazing work. And here's what I noticed, and we haven't really talked about this yet. And let me see how much time we have left. It's going to cut us off anywhere from 4 to 14 or 15 minutes from now. So if we suddenly get cut off, don't worry about it. It's the end of the thing. But you are using a combination of what some people call a keep going signal and a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And the keep going signal is a recue. So when you say turn around, turn around, turn around, do this, do this, do this, that's a keep going signal.
Mm-hmm.
And an intermediate bridge is a secondary reinforcer. When you say that's a good turn, that's a good walk, that's an intermediate bridge. You're using words instead of a conditioned signal.
Mm-hmm.
So the difference there is a conditioned signal, and maybe that is conditioned for her. Maybe you use it enough that it's conditioned, but bridge is just like that, or anyway. So more words, she's got to process it in the forebrain. And with a one syllable signal that's conditioned, she can process it in the amygdala, and it's faster. I believe that the processing time for something like a bridge is actually 0.0025 seconds.
Hmm.
But I'm not, I have to find that again. Like, that's just from my memory.
Mm-hmm.
The intermediate bridge that I use, that's 7.82 beats per second, or 7.83, somewhere between that. Well, that's a weird number. I used to play the violin. Why wouldn't I do 8 beats a second? And do you recognize, did we already talk about this?
Yes. Yeah, briefly.
Okay. So for the other people, I don't mean to bore you, Nick, but
No.
that happens to be the Schumann's resonance. Do you guys remember that? Do you know who already knows what the Schumann resonance is? Okay, so everybody in the class. Everybody in classes. So it's the frequency of the oscillation of the Earth's multimagnetic core. And the animals respond innately to it. So we have a little protocol for conditioning it, but we get reports all over the place, like over the internet, where the dogs will hear the intermediate bridge, and their owners will go, "My dog hears you bridging, and he's coming over and standing by the computer and wagging his tail." And I did a presentation for Dr. Daniel Mills' lab, and he's assisted by a bunch of people that own dogs, and they're clicker trainers. So I'm there and I'm explaining the intermediate bridge and showing videos of Sarah and all this stuff. And it gets to the part, I'm telling you, 6 or 7 dogs came up and stood in front of me, wagging their tail like, "What are we doing now?" And their owners are sitting there like, "What? What? You trainer dog?" Because there's no way these dogs had ever been conditioned for this. So a lot going on there, a lot going on. What do you think about, like, are you tempted to test your signals? See if you see a difference by changing the quality of your signals, because I would love to know what you find.
Well, see, the thing is, I kind of have to, let me see what's the best way of saying it. There, like you
have a proprietary technique that you have to honor.
No. But what it is, certain things you have to remember that, a lot of this is something that the new handler or a handler, right, learning, it has to kind of be able to use, right? And so, you
don't have to worry about that. And here's why. Oh, I didn't say goodbye to Kathy. She had to go. You don't have to worry, because the intermediate bridge is just there to support the learning. You could always bring it back if you saw a dog hesitate or something like that. But it's just like we were talking about when you're learning how you're.
No, it's not even about that. It's, for instance, imagine, as if you would, type A, super type A alphas, kind of thing, right? They're not exactly very vocal with things. And so, like, even getting the good, good cross, is difficult. And so if you were to kind of try and get them to,
but
say,
I'm saying they don't need it.
Okay.
You could just apply it during the actual learning phase.
Right.
But also, good is easier than good cross. Try it.
For sure. for sure.
Well, anyway, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing training.
No,
And
thank you.
and I love watching it. I have seen people, she had an e-collar on, it looked like, am I correct in that?
No.
Oh, okay. What was her band around her neck? Is
Oh,
that a fashion statement?
that's a nope. That's a flat collar. It's a 2 inch. I think it was a 2 inch flat collar. And then a prong. That's all.
Oh, okay. I thought it was one of those e-collar covers. Well, anyway,
No.
but here's the thing. She is so much listening to you, and she is so much engaged and figuring that out and focusing. She didn't look like she wanted to do it again, but I have seen people that did stuff like that, that made their dog go out and get on a piling and then pull his feet up and then pull this foot up. And they had the e-collar remote control in their hand the whole time.
Hmm.
And the dog looked dead. The dog
Yep.
looked like, I'm going to leave my body right now and hope for the best.
Yep. Yeah. And you know, and I'm not one that is going to be like, hey, you know what? I don't think you should use an e-collar or a prong or anything like that. But there is the proper usage of it, right? And so, for example, prong collar, right? A lot of people believe that prong collar needs to be high and tight on the mastoids and all this type of thing. And if
Yeah.
you see, any dog that I run, it basically sits very low on the neck. And most of the times I'll run both rings. I don't even just like hook one ring. I'll hook both rings, which basically, stops the compression even more.
Yeah.
To me, my purpose of that dog having that prong is just a way to communicate. So, like, if I deploy that dog and you tried to grab that prong, thinking that you're going to twist it and choke the dog out, you're going to be surprised because that prong's going to come right off his head. It's
Yeah.
that loose, and
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but of course, you've got other folks that'll run, the smaller prongs, the 2.5 millimeter prong that is more quote unquote bite per square inch, right? And they'll put it real high and tight, and it kills me when I see those dogs that literally look like they're working with a gun to their head,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm in that world where they have to do certain things sometimes, right?
Yeah.
The dog's got to perform. There is zero failure.
Everybody's life is at stake.
Yeah, but not like that.
Well, it's just crazy because one of the people, I think in that conversation somewhere, but I have heard it more than once. You don't even know how to use a prong collar. Like,
Right.
they're the world's expert, and there's only one way to use something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's again, I mean, to me, that you always hear that adage, right? What's the two things that two trainers can agree on, the third trainer doesn't know what he's doing, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of funny, right? But that's not true in my eyes, because at the end of the day, whether something works or doesn't should only be looked at as, one, did the dog perform the task?
Yeah.
If the dog didn't perform the task, well, then I don't care that you talk to it or that you put an
Yeah.
e-collar on it. It failed, right? So anything in between that, and of course the dog still wanting to work with you,
That
wanting to do the
I
task.
totally agree.
Okay. Then if you felt that you needed to get a little, you had to give the dog a prong pop, well, okay, but like anything, right? There's ways of doing that, right? That the issue is almost never, especially with these really really hard dogs that, knock on wood, most people will never encounter because they don't have to, right?
Yeah.
But you've got a dog that literally is just kind of, hey, look, this is all business.
Yeah.
So those types of dogs, you don't always have the option of just going higher and higher and higher, whether it's on an e-collar or a prong. So at some point, you have to find another way of getting through to that dog.
Yeah.
I find that those dogs, ironically, need more communication than strength.
Yeah,
because
and
if you
smart.
try and hammer them, they're like, that's all you got? Because
Yeah.
I could take a lot more, you know. So, and then what ends up happening is, of course, then you've got the handler getting into conflict with the dog. Then they get handler aggression and all this type of stuff, which I don't necessarily buy into. But, you know, that's what ends up happening.
Well, if the dog knows how to take out people and you
Exactly.
just are, you know, don't quite rate as a person, you've set it up.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, I've worked with all these animals that could kill you in an instant. And I've had kids working with these animals. And, you know, we don't put anybody in with bears or lions or anything like that. But they all can do it. They all can
Yes.
do it. And a lot of it is automatic. I had a little otter, and her name was Emily, and somebody threw something in her exhibit, and I hadn't been to see her for a year or so, and I was used to jumping into the exhibit, getting whatever, and vaulting out, and it just took a minute, and I didn't have to unlock the doors. Well, it was stupid, but anyway. So you know, it was time to go. I just jumped in to get this thing. All of a sudden, Emily noticed me. You never call, you never write, get the heck out of my exhibit. And I'm in motion to vault out of this thing. And little Emily, I saw her coming. I knew she was going to try to bite me. But I didn't think it was going to be serious. And I was in motion. And when she tagged the back of my ankle, my Achilles insert,
Mm-hmm.
I froze. I was like this, and I couldn't get like this on the edge. And all the people there were like, do you want us to pull you up? Are you okay? Are you okay? And fortunately, I was fit enough and everything. Then I just got it back together and came out. She didn't bite me hard. It hardly
No.
bled. La, la, la. She took me out of action, even though I knew it was coming and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
God,
we call those bumps.
yeah.
You know, if you oh, you got bumped. Okay, it's to us it's not even a question of if you're going to get bumped, it's when you're going to get bumped.
Yeah.
And the severity is basically going to come down